Right.
If it's from an online platform.
I believe integration's the ideal way, but enterprise customers like big freight forwarders, it's hard because they normally have proprietary software, old, outdated EDI. Everybody's moving to an API platform where you can use tokens and integrations in order to connect. But the enterprises are harder because there is no way of seamlessly pushing data. Hey, transportation community, this is Luis Lopez, aka the Freight Guru, and today we got a special guest by a person by the name of Christoph Niemann, somebody I've known for a very long time, and somebody that's been in the freight forwarding industry for almost 17 years. Christoph is going to be discussing today Freight Forwarding 101. For all those guys out there, millennials, guys coming out of high school, potentially 4 years in college, and are interested in getting into the freight forwarding industry, this is the guy to know. Christoph has been in the industry for a very long time. Christoph has moved and evolved in the industry in the past 17 years. So now I want to get onto another subject, which is the current climate, the market that we're in. Yeah. And looking at here, I'm looking at imports. You're looking at, this is Sonar, by the way, FreightWaves, which I think is the best platform in order to build data analytics and have reporting. I think they do a very good job of providing data. You're looking at a market that is just doesn't look like there's any end in sight. Imports into the United States, all-time high. Right. Freight rates, all-time high. Right. Carriers are posting revenue, all-time high revenues. Doesn't look like anything's stopping. In the freight forwarding business right now, that could be a positive thing because gross revenue's up for carriers. That means that your margins, even if you're charging the same amount of money as you were pre-COVID, your margins are better. But what do you see in the current state of the market as this keeps on going and the conversation of inflation now is on everybody's kind of radar? Where do you see this going? Is it going to get worse? Is this the top? Because carriers look like very bullish right now and saying, hey, these are our rates, take it or leave it. And then I'm looking at customers that we work with. I had City Furniture here a couple weeks ago, and they've already signed their contracts for the next year. Wow. About a month and a half earlier than they normally would, as they're always negotiating and waiting to the absolute last minute in order to sign their contracts for 2022. And it's no wait this time. So where do you see this going?
Where do I see this going? For the time being, I think we not necessarily reach the peak yet. I think it's going to get a little bit worse. Sad to say, but it will not get any better in the near future. It has 1,000 different reasons why we are where we are. It's with the majority has to do with COVID, and the demand that had an influx of, I think, 200%. There is not enough equipment. There's not enough vessels. I believe one of the major carriers announced for 2024 that they will release new vessels to the market. There's another carrier that is only having new vessels by 2023. So I foresee that this market is not gonna get any better before 2023. It doesn't mean that it's getting worse and worse by months and months, but I feel like it's like an up and down. You will have better weeks, and then you will have worse weeks. So it's you're gonna have very painful weeks ahead, but you're gonna feel also relief in some of the weeks.
And now, speaking to our shippers out there that are watching this, what would you tell shippers that are negotiating with freight forwarders? How do you take advantage, or what disadvantage are they at in taking advantage of signing contracts right now? Do you think it's the best practice to sign contracts as quickly as possible, knowing that rates are only going up? Or what are you going to do with your customers in order to educate them on, hey, look, in reality, this is the best it's going to be. take it now or it's only going to get worse? Or do you play the, hey, it could get better?
Look,
Before
in my opinion, what needs to happen generally in the market is that you have to build loyalty back into this business. Let's say not skip from one another supplier, and that's not only the customers, it's also the freight forwarder, it's the trucker, it's the truck broker, it's everybody coming back to stop this. Here in Miami, say cuchillo en la boca. So don't fight for rates and bring some loyalty and look at more of the service level that is being provided by the freight forwarder. Or the trucker,
not always go with the
carrier.
cheapest rate.
Look, you can get very cheap rates as long as you're being loyal to your supplier.
Right.
You're gonna pay a little bit more, but in the long run, it will pay out eventually. Because what's happening today is, or what happened in the last 3, 4, 5 months maybe, is that you need to have a good mix of rates. You can have long-term contracted rates, and then you have short-term contracted rates. And
right.
you should use this, and you should maybe use that in your advantage. And you should show the supplier, whoever you work with, to show him like, look, I really want to work with you.
Right.
And you really come through with the bookings, and you don't play this game that we have been all in the industry playing. You don't play the game and place bookings with 5, 6, 7, 8 suppliers, because in the end of the day, this is hurting you.
Right.
It's hurting us. It's hurting you. It's hurting everybody.
Got it.
So I would say for the time being, it's smart to sign a contract, but you need to have as well a healthy, let's say, pool of short-term rates, which is FAK, which could be 15 to 30 days validity. You should have that, and you should come through with that.
Got it. Now for guys on the other end, the domestic guys, so guys that are catering to freight forwarders, what is the best way to get in the door with you if you're a carrier, warehouse, vendor for a freight forwarder? What's the best way to get to you and to upsell their services and be able to start a relationship with you? What are you looking for in vendors?
Besides obviously compliance and insurance and the vendor setup itself, I believe like you need to be a good salesman to start first, and you need to have a vision in your company and what you will do different for me that XYZ is doing. Like what is it different? Like in the Miami market, for example, what are you doing different towards your neighbor? Because technically you pick up a container from A to B and you deliver it to me. But what additionally, and that's what I talked before, it's not only just picking up a container from A to B or ship it from A to B, it's the technology that's behind it. How do you make my life less stressful in a sense of how do I become more productive by using you?
Right.
What are you helping me with?
What tasks are you taking away that I was maybe doing manual that now you can make automated? Like an Excel spreadsheet maybe with all the containers of that week. Or a report with how many on times, how many lates.
Yes, but I think the biggest factor is more like how do you, again going back to operations, how are we able to limit the amount of communication with our operations?
Right.
Because here in this market it's crazy and everybody wants to have a mail every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you want to get away from this.
Yeah.
You want
25 emails for a local last mile delivery.
Exactly. And after you have done this, the entire business is not.
Yeah, it's super inefficient.
It's super inefficient. So you want to find more efficient ways.
Right.
If it's from an online platform.
I believe integration's the ideal way. But enterprise customers like big freight forwarders, it's hard because they normally have proprietary software, old, outdated EDI. Everybody's moving to an API platform where you can use tokens and integrations in order to connect. But the enterprises are harder because there is no way of seamlessly pushing data. So in my opinion, the first phase is how can I get data to the customer on an Excel spreadsheet in a way that they can see it, and then ideally import it into their platform. And how can I give them daily, weekly, and monthly visibility to the KPIs, right? I think that's the key, but ultimately that's a Band-Aid. the real ultimate goal is integration.
It's for sure integration, but you need to also measure like the amount of emails or the amount of work you have. It's very hard to measure. Like how do we measure that? How do I measure that Luis is instead of now 20 mails, he's getting 10 mails now? How do I? Like,
Right.
You will need to see this, okay, and you will then hear this from operations. Yes, it's working much better. So integration, yes, and I think integration is not too far off in the future. And if you already in a lot of, let's say, in your business, trucking, the trucking industry is not everybody is as far as you are for that example, right? And so, but you're already ahead of the game in comparison to many others, especially here in the local Miami market. There is others that have similar things, similar tools out there, but you have that, so you need to just continue to push and to push and to push.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's all about an evolution. Like no matter how bad your TMS is or how bad you feel you're doing in evolution, as long as I think every day you're evolving and trying and making the attempt to evolve, eventually you're going to find your way into being successful.
Yep.
Because with software, with growth, there comes failures. It just happens.
Right.
And it's more beta testing. It's more evolution of how to make things more efficient. It's either for your end user or for your back office, either way. Right. But nobody has the answer right away. No. Nobody does. I mean, you know, this, and that's the one thing about millennials today. Everybody wants to create the next Facebook, the next Instagram. You know, Mark Zuckerberg didn't create that overnight. That was an evolution of time, months and years before it became what it became. Nothing's done overnight. That instant gratification as an entrepreneur doesn't really exist. And most entrepreneurs that I think really have succeeded, they don't even remember when it transitioned for them into a failure to now a success. Normally it's like, oh yeah, you know what? Things are a lot better now. They don't even know when it happened, right? And I think that's the reason why is because if you're just always knocking on the door, at some point that door is going to open up for you.
For sure.
And it takes effort and discipline. It's not, you don't got to be the smartest guy in the room to grow a business. You just have to be dedicated.
I think you need discipline. That's
Discipline,
I think if you're disciplined, the effort is coming naturally. So
right.
But it's with everything in life, you know. As long as
Everything.
you're disciplined, like if you would be disciplined going to the gym every day, it would look much better.
We
right?
would all be 10 pounds light. Yeah,
exactly. But
right, I get you.
But I think for the business that I am in is look, it's a very edgy, like on the edge working people that have very little time to make and to look into those things, right? And so how do you do this just to implement it without wasting too much of my time?
Right.
And that's a problem in general. But I believe in the future this is becoming more and more, and that people more will look into this and make a change towards it.
Perfect. Hey, transportation community, this is Luis Lopez, aka the Freight Guru, and today we're going to do our first episode of Pod Decks. We got our friend here, Christoph Niemann. We're going to give him a question off of Pod Decks and get him to answer it, okay? Christoph, decide whichever one you want. Let me get that. All right, question is, what is the worst job you've ever had?
My worst job I ever had was probably... It's a difficult question. It's probably when I was 15 and I had to... every Wednesday I had to hand out newspapers and had to drop newspapers in the houses.
And what country was that in?
That was in Germany.
Germany.
It was bad weather. Bad pay. It was 14 euro every week. I needed the money, but it was probably the worst job I ever had.
Well, you know, I believe all those things make you who you are. I've also had some pretty bad jobs as well. I, at like 13 years old, had to paint a golf course building in Miami. So that was brutal in the summer at 103 degrees in order to play golf. So that was brutal. But yeah, I really appreciate your time today. It's been great talking to you. 17 years of experience in freight forwarding. This is a guy that knows freight forwarding, This is Freight Forwarding 101. Guys, this is Luis Lopez, Freight Guru. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content. We're always pushing out new content. Have a great day, guys. Take care.